The Sustainable Development Goals are dedicated to make the planet a better place. Unfortunately, only 15% of the SDGs are on track to be achieved by 2030.
Hello, this is the Weekly Tradecast, a podcast brought to you by UNCTAD, the UN's trade and development body. I'm Sarah Toms. We're exploring how major events are shaping trade and development and how that affects billions of people around the world. In previous episodes, we've talked about the importance of the Sustainable Development Goals. This week, we're looking at how much it will cost to actually achieve them. The United Nations and many others are concerned about faltering efforts to meet the targets and fulfill the promise of a better future for people and the planet. In 2015, UN members signed up to 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, that range from ending extreme poverty to tackling the climate crisis. The SDGs are supposed to be met by 2030, but most are off track because of the pandemic, economic turmoil, and geopolitical tensions. It's estimated that the investment needed to hit the targets is around $6 trillion every year for the next 7 years. That's equal to at least $750 per year for each person on the planet. Can we salvage the Sustainable Development Goals? And where will the money come from? Well, joining me now to find out is statistician Nour Barnat, Chief of Methodology at UNCTAD Statistics. Before joining UNCTAD, she worked at universities and schools teaching maths, stats, and economics. And when she's not crunching numbers, she loves reading books in Arabic, French, and English. Every week, Nour spends time giving free lessons in maths and languages to people in need, particularly in Africa. Welcome to the show, Nour. It's good to have you here. So tell me, what do the Sustainable Development Goals cover and why are they so important?
Hello. This is an important question. The Sustainable Development Goals, also known as SDGs, are somewhat of a global to-do list dedicated to make the planet a better place.
Right.
The SDGs are a list of 17 goals covering important things, like making sure that everyone on Earth has enough food, clean water, good education, live in peace, and in a healthy and protected planet.
So where are we now then with progress on the SDGs and where should we be?
We are at midway to 2030. Unfortunately, only 15% of the SDGs are on track to be achieved by 2030. Since we started this journey in 2015, many progress has been made, such as reducing the number of people living in extreme poverty or in hunger. However, because of the crisis, the COVID pandemic, disasters, we are seeing these trends increasing again. There is one other aspect. If you look at Goal 5, gender equality, current estimates show that we need 300 years to achieve many of the targets of this goal on gender, like reducing child marriage, for example. Let me give you some positive progress. We see that child mortality has been reduced and it continues to be reduced. Also, for environmental protection, we know now that marine protected areas are doubled since 2010. And I wanted to close this question by these two positive impacts.
Absolutely. So it's not all bad news, but 15% is a long way off the target. So what happens if we fail to meet these targets? What does that mean for people in developing countries particularly, but also the global economy and the world as a whole?
Yeah, it's not about failing a checklist. It's about people's life and the planet.
Right, of course.
So if we don't achieve these goals, or at least we don't make progress, we would just be seeing the trends we noticed since now continues, like having more people live in extreme poverty, getting the planet warmer and warmer. So we will just see this again deepen. For developing countries, unfortunately, the impact is even worse. They are more exposed to disastrous. Also, they are facing a huge financing gap and they are buried under a mountain of debt. So the impact will be even worse.
Well, we're hoping that that's not going to happen. And the world economy is worth about $100 trillion. Investing $6 trillion in the SDGs every year is a massive amount of money. Where is it going to come from, especially now when there are so many competing priorities?
Yes, you're right. $6 trillion are a big amount. That said, it's important to understand that the $6 trillion cover what the country projects to spend each year. This number is $5.5 trillion. So in reality, we are talking about a much smaller number, which is 500 billion to be added each year. So when it comes to how we calculate the priorities, the most important thing to know is we need to look at the synergy between sectors. So the country, when they prioritize their agenda, they need to look at where they should spend the money. And this is actually a big thing because there is a lot of interconnections between the sectors. Take education, for example. If you invest in education, you don't only achieve education targets, but also health and social inclusion. Now, from where the money come? To finance this 500 billion, we can look at different financial resources. But let me give you a small number. They can come from government, from civil society, from international organizations, but also from private sector. At government level, we can have more taxes. Personal remittances are important, and these are money that is sent by people live abroad. They can send this money to their families in the country. And one important source of finance is what we call the international assistance or international aid. Developed countries are required to donate 0.7% of their wealth to developing countries. Unfortunately, they are not committed to provide this amount. And by the way, this 0.7% of their wealth is a target on its own in the SDGs agenda. So bringing all these sources of finance can help the country to align their budget and to afford this amount.
So beyond the clear need for more investment, as you say, Nour, what else do we need to do to get the Sustainable Development Goals back on track?
Getting the Sustainable Development Goals back on track, it's not only about pumping more money. It's about fostering partnership, aligning the SDGs to the country national plan, and it's about bringing everyone to the table to talk about the budget and how we can achieve these goals. One important point also is it's about statistics. Here, it's a call for action. Invest in statistics. Developing countries has a lot of missing data. Data gap are even worse and severe in Africa. We can't cost the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals if we don't have data. And if we don't have the costs to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the country can't align their budget to achieve the goals. When data is missing, this means that the country cannot track on how they get to make plans to achieve the goals. So investing in SDGs in statistics is very important. And finally, this SDGs agenda is not a failure because we already made a lot of progress, starting with the fact that this agenda have been agreed by all the world in 2015. And for me, having the whole world agree on such comprehensive and ambitious goal is an achievement on its own.
Thank you so much, Nour, for breaking that all down for us. And that was UNCTAD's Nour Barnat, who was this week's guest. Tune into the weekly Tradecast next week and every week for more insights on the most pressing issues around the world of trade and development. There's even more on our website, unctad.org. I'm Sarah Thomas in Geneva. Goodbye for now.